Australian solo rower Liz Wardley has set a new race record in the world's toughest row. This is her crossing the finishing line in Antigua in the Caribbean after racing at sea for 44 days. The 44-year-old rowed her 7-metre boat almost 5,000 kilometres across the Atlantic. Liz endured some tough conditions and in the last 24 hours of the race capsized in wild seas. And the adventurer herself joins me live from English Harbour. Liz, congratulations. How do you feel being on dry land?
Thank you very much. Getting off the boat and stepping onto the dock was definitely an amazing experience. I couldn't actually stand up. I had to have people support me and get a chair pretty quickly. So it took a lot out of me.
The ocean racing community is just so incredibly proud of you and what you've achieved. What does it mean for you to finish the race?
Just getting to the finish line, a massive accomplishment. You know, that was my primary goal when I set out, because I knew it wasn't really going to be an easy feat. But, coming in as a third solo and, out of the, men and women, and then taking out this record, I'm a bit lost for words. It's still all filling in, but I'm extremely proud of my achievement and, of course, everybody who's been around me to help me.
And what inspired you to want to do this race in the first place? I mean, you're no stranger to adversity and you've been ocean racing, you're a professional sailor for a very long time, but why this race and why did you choose to do it in the solo category?
So I was here in Antigua a few years ago when I saw the rowboats come in, and I think the idea just sort of went in my mind subconsciously because I kind of thought about it a lot ever since. And then I just needed a project of my own. I'm always running other people's projects and other people's boats, and I just needed something bite-sized that I could do on my own. And so I thought, why not row across the Atlantic? And then the fact to do it solo, well, it's just to me, there was just no bigger challenge than taking this all on my own. So I was alone on the boat, but I definitely was not alone in my campaign. I had a lot of other people supporting me and helping me out along the way.
You certainly did. Can you talk me through some of those tough days in terms of the conditions out there? In the last 24 hours, your boat, tic-tac, as you've affectionately called it, capsized. Tell me about that moment. You must have just been so scared and also disappointed given you were so close to the finishing line when this happened.
Yeah, so like a few days out from the finish, I saw an option to go further north than the rest of the fleet to line me up with a better wave and wind angle into the finish. It wasn't really an overtaking tactic because the guy in front of me was quite a long way. He was 50 miles ahead of me, and I managed to rein that into 8 miles at one stage. But I knew it was going to be really rough, so I took the decision to go up there and get a safe angle to come into the finish safely. However, it did put me in a little bit more of the extreme conditions, and 140 miles from the finish, I was going the fastest in the fleet. Like, I managed to clock a 100-mile day, which doesn't happen on a solo boat. But I was actually asleep because it was too rough to row. And I said, well, the safest place for you is going to be in your cabin. And I woke up on the roof, which you never want to do. So a bit of a rude awakening. I had to go out on deck to help get the boat back upright. So I waited until it came at 90, but it wasn't coming back and the waves were pushing me sideways. So I went up on deck and sort of hiked off the high side and managed to get the boat upright, and then had to get the autopilot set up again, get the boat tracking in the right direction, and everything seemed okay. I did a tour of the boat. I, patted myself down and then went back in the cabin and was just like, why now? It was so close. But literally the boat, testament to the boat, because she literally just popped back up and just kept sending it home. So it wasn't fun, but
you finished, you got there. And it is a wonderful achievement to be so incredibly proud of. Can you tell me about some of the highlights of being out there in the Atlantic on your own? I understand you had a whale encounter one day.
Yeah, so mid-Atlantic, everything happened in a space of about 45 minutes. The wind sort of died out and I was sitting there rowing beautiful, calm seas in the middle of the Atlantic. You just, horizon to horizon, nothing. And then a whale popped up next to me. I had dolphins, which I filmed underwater. And then I had a marlin come up and nose around. A few days later, I had a marlin actually attacking my rudder. I could hear it smacking the rudder, and it was huge. I could see it off the back of the boat. And I was like, no, mate, I need that. So, luckily it left me alone. But saw a lot of wildlife, and just the enormity of being out there in a 7-metre boat alone just made you feel very small, very vulnerable, but at the same time, I was just in awe sometimes, just sitting there thinking about where I was.
Yeah, very special. Now, the event was rocked by tragedy. Your fellow Australian competitor, Alastair Putt, sadly died at sea, suffered a suspected heart attack. When you learnt of that news out there in the ocean on your own, that must have hit really hard.
It did hit very hard, because when you're on land, it's not good, but you have a support network around you, and you can go and get a hug, for example, or whatever. But the processing, I guess, was very different. I didn't really know. You sort of start asking yourself how you're meant to be reacting here. But the only really way to react was to sort of take it in the moment and then just keep doing what you're doing, because you still need to get where you're going. So, I wrote a message to the team. I sent out a condolence video, and just sat there in my own thoughts quite a lot, because at that stage I was south enough that when I looked to the horizon, I could actually see the Southern Cross. So every time I saw that, I thought of the team and what they were going through. And crazy. I can't imagine what they went through, and I'm very sorry for the loss.
Yeah, very sad time for those crew members. Now, a charity that's very special to you, you supported during the world's toughest row, the Chumpy Pullen Foundation. What is so special to you about the foundation and the work that they do?
So I never met Chumpy, sadly. But it's a foundation that they try to break down barriers to support, to support people and give inspiration to sort of break out of their comfort zones, and to, participate through things, through just sport and life in general. And that really resonated with me, because, I'm a pretty tiny, lady, and I go out and do some pretty cool stuff. And I've been breaking down barriers my whole professional career to get where I am, and now this with the row, and just getting to the start line, finishing where I did. I broke down heaps of barriers, and I didn't actually set out to do this to inspire people. I set out to do this to prove to myself that I could do it. But I hope I inspired some people along the way, and if not, then I hope I raised some funds for the Chumpy Pullen Foundation to be able to do so. I reached out to them quite late in the piece, but they've got some epic people doing some epic stuff for their foundation. I really wanted to be a part of it.
Well, you're pretty epic, Liz Wardley. Thank you for your time. Congratulations on your huge achievement, Annie. Enjoy dry land.
Thank you very much. Thank you.